How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, King Calf, and I just want to first start by saying happy 2024. I know I'm about a month late, been very busy, but just wanted to wish you all a happy new year. Hope 2024 has been great to you so far. Really appreciate, all the love and respect I got in 2023 with this channel. It's a new year. Let's see if we can grow this channel. I'm trying to get 100 followers in the next 2 months. So, if you or your friends haven't subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. And we're going to have a lot more videos coming our way. So, it's no secret that 2023 had some of the greatest games we've had in quite some time. Baldur's Gate 3, incredible. I mean, I'm on my second playthrough right now. A video will be coming out about that eventually. Um, no rush with that one. We had Spider-Man 2, we had Street Fighter, we had Mortal Kombat, we had so many heavy hitters last year, and 2024 is looking like a filler year. We got some good bangers coming out. Tekken 8's coming later this week as the recording of this video, and I'm very excited about that. I know you guys know I like my fighting games, but I want to start 2024 by giving a review of a game from 2023 that I missed. So this game didn't really interest me before. I played the first one back in 2010, and I thought it was all right. It was nothing special. It was just your generic thriller, third-person shooter. And, it had some good moments, had some good ideas, but I was never really invested in the entire universe. But I saw that Alan Wake 2 is coming out this year, and Alan Wake 2 was not on my radar, not at all. And then I watched the Game Awards, and I saw that it was just getting all this praise and all this critical acclaim, and a bunch of, journalist outlets were saying it's really good. YouTube comments, people were saying it's really good. Reddit as well. So I was like, okay, maybe this game is good, but I didn't want to pay full price for it. So during the holidays, I saw that it was on sale, so I said, "I for why not? Let's do it. Let's grab it. Let's see how it is. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't." And after completing it, I just have so many things to say because I feel like games are so generic now. And I think that games like Alan Wake 2 are just such a rare find where there's so many different ideas and so many different moving parts that you just don't see in your average AAA games. And I just want to talk about it. So I'm going to give you guys my review on Alan Wake 2, and let's get started. So I want to start with the story. I think the story is probably the main event of this game. We will get to gameplay afterwards, but I definitely want to focus on the story first, as I do feel that the story is what really truly makes this game special. We play as the titular character Alan Wake. He has been trapped in the dark place for 13 years, which is what happened at the end of the first game. And we have a new character, Saga Anderson, who is an FBI detective who's coming to Bright Falls to investigate some murders. And I don't want to give away too much because I think going into this game blind is what truly makes it special. Because if you know what happens, well, for one, I feel like you can't even explain to somebody what happens because the story is just kind of weird. Like it's weird to the sense where there's gonna be some people that if you do not pay attention to these cutscenes, if you find that you're on your phone during cutscenes and you're just listening to it in the background, you're gonna be completely lost and not know what the hell is going on. And I think that that's very crucial to the enjoyment of this game. I think, having a game that has a story that you're invested in, that you want to push forward to see what happens, is what really makes a game like Alan Wake 2 moving constantly. So the story overall, I found it was really good, but again, you really have to pay attention to it because there's just so many weird ass things happening at once, always. And I think how they told the story was very neat too. So we play as Alan Wake. We also play as Saga Anderson. Now, at a certain point in the game, you are going to be able to switch to either one and do their entire story. I personally felt like doing one mission with Alan Wake, then one mission with Saga, then alternating between the characters really helped with the pacing of the game, just because you're in two spaces with these characters. With Saga, you were in the real world. With Alan, you're in the dark place. So it kept everything fresh. It also gave you, different perspectives of what's going on at that very moment rather than just having to backtrack when you switch to one character. So I think that that's probably the better way to play this game is to alternate between the characters because I think that if you just focus too much on Alan or you focus too much on Saga and then you have to go back to the other character because eventually once you finish the other person's story you have to finish the other person's. I think that's going to really hurt the pacing and hurt the flow of the actual story. And again, the story is the main attraction of this game. So that's my opinion personally. Maybe if in the comments let me know if you played it differently, if you finished Alan Wake or Saga Anderson's story first and then you played the other one. If that didn't hurt the pacing, let me know in the comments. But I just personally felt like that was the better way to play the game. And I think the characters were really cool. The premise of Alan Wake is that Alan Wake is a writer, and his stories are actually coming true. So there's a lot of mind-bending realities because Alan is able to change how things are perceived based on the story he's writing, but then there's also someone else writing a story called Return. And again, I can't really get into the story without spoiling it, and I really feel like it's so difficult to just be able to give a 5-minute impression of the story and try and go through it. Like, I think I need a whole analysis video on the story as it is. But I think that it was a very, very well told story. I know some people had difficulties following it even when they were paying attention. I felt like it was pretty straightforward if you did the investigations, if you went to the mine room, which I'll talk about later. If you went and looked at notes and you actually read notes that were going around, I think that it was very easy to follow if you do that. If you don't like that kind of exploration in your games, I think that you can still follow the story, but you might have to check out a video afterwards just to get some clues and some parts that you missed. But yeah, I think the story was really great. The one thing I really do not like is the ending, just because I think the ending you can tell that Remedy has DLC planned and the story ends with the DLC in mind, and I really hate when games do that. I think that you should have a full conclusion, cohesive story in your base game, and then if you want to do extras or if you want to continue it or do like a side story, then that's fine. But to have your ending locked behind an actual paywall in that sense is it's just modern gaming, it's unfortunate, but yeah, that part I didn't like, but I'd say 95% of the story I really, really enjoyed. Really enjoyed. So I want to talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is definitely split into a couple parts. You have your combat encounters, you have your investigations, your mind room, your clues. You have that kind of style. Then you also have your puzzle solving. Now, I want to start by talking about the puzzle solving. I think the puzzle solving in this game, especially with Alan Wake, were really cool. And the reason why is because, again, Alan Wake is a writer, and the stories that he writes changes the actual surroundings in the dark place. So there's a lot of really cool levels. Like there's one where you're in a hotel and you have to come up with different portions of each scene, and it changes the entire hotel around you to continue to get further into the hotel. I thought that was a really, really, really cool mission, and I would love to see more of that in other games. Like this, that goes back to what I'm saying was that Remedy did so many experimental things with Alan Wake 2 that we do not get in a lot of games, and this was just a prime example of it. And I just really, really liked how this puzzles aren't they're not overly complicated, but they're gonna make you stop and think for a second. It's not just something that you can just kind of mash your way. Like you're gonna have to read things. I know you have to read things in order to proceed with some of these levels. And I just like when a game makes me think. Like games don't just have to always just be combat and shooting and big set pieces. Like sometimes you gotta sit and actually take the ambience around you. So a lot of the puzzle solving mainly goes with Alan. Saga does have some puzzles and some levels. I think that they're more like your traditional Resident Evil levels where you have to backtrack to get a key to go through this room to get this item to open the other room to proceed within the level. It has a lot of that in it, and I think it works with Saga. I think one of the coolest levels was that you're in a nursing home. Again, I'm not gonna ruin the story, but there's one level where you're in a nursing home and there's like old people and shit. And like I have a thick skin with horror, but when you throw old people at me, there's just something about creepy old people that just makes my skin crawl. And this level definitely had me on the edge of my seat, especially when you go deeper into the nursing home when you're in the basement. Like, yo, I was playing that by myself late at night, and I'm not gonna lie, that shit kind of scared me. So, really cool levels. They just weren't your traditional streets or your traditional labs. Like, there was actually some cool thought put into some of these levels that I've never seen before. And I do welcome cool set pieces in horror because I think the only thing more important than the creatures that you're fighting in horror games is the level itself and the surroundings that you are. And I think that's goes to why Dead Space is so beloved because Dead Space had a masterful set piece that the entire game took place in. And yeah, the environments in this game I think were amazing. The dark place is really cool, and the sound production with the dark place, like how you're hearing shadows whisper around you and they're saying your name, and like you don't know which one's gonna attack you and which one's not. Like all you're gonna shine your flashlight and some of them will be walking towards you and then they'll disappear. And it was a really, really, really cool experience. I mean, I think that they nailed the atmosphere in this game, and I think that if you are someone who's a big atmosphere guy and like that really sells the game on you, that alone is enough for me to recommend Alan Wake 2. Is just for the atmosphere and the sound design, the presentation on its own. We're gonna get more into presentation later, just because there are some things I want to talk about. But yeah, I think the level design, the exploration, the puzzles were top notch in this game, and I think that with the story, those are the star of the show easily. So with the combat, I mean the combat's not winning any awards. It's your classic over-the-shoulder third-person shooter. The guns have some crunch to it. They do try to do the Resident Evil 2 kind of, you have a set amount of items that you can fit, and you have to drop some items to make room for ammo, vice versa. And I felt like I wasn't really running out of room a lot of times until late in the game. I think that that's when the inventory started to pile up, and then that's when I had to start like sacrificing some things to pick up other things. But overall, I think that the game didn't really utilize that too much. You can also upgrade your character. So you can upgrade your character as Alan, and you can upgrade your guns as Saga. And I felt like it wasn't really necessary. I did do the upgrades, like I upgraded as much as I could, but I felt like you were given enough tools as your base character to be able to handle the threat. So I played on hard mode first because that was the highest difficulty available. I played on hard mode and I got through the game no problem. You die in 2 hits, but whatever. Just make sure you hit that dodge button. But yeah, I think that you didn't really need to have this upgrade system in the game, and I think that that kind of did make it feel a little too video gamey. But whatever, like it's not a big deal. It's not a big gripe. But overall, I think the combat, again, there are some cool combat encounters, especially as Alan. I think Alan has the better combat encounters. There are some cool ones with Saga, but I think the Dark Place and how the shadows, you don't know what shadow is going to attack you and what's not, and you really have to pay attention. And sometimes you're surrounded by shadows, and you're like, which one's going to attack me? I think that's just a genius game design, and I think that that really enhanced the actual gameplay. But when it come to combat encounters, I think that they were pretty mid. They're not bad, but nothing crazy. Like Resident Evil 4 remake combat encounters are 40 million times better than what's in this game. But I think that that's why the combat is the star of the show. And I saw a lot of people saying that there's not a lot of combat in this game. I think that there was enough combat in this game where you felt like there was always a threat around you. but it's not like Resident Evil 4 where you're just being like bombarded by people. Like, you know what I mean? And that wouldn't make sense in this game. That's not how this game was designed. So I think the combat is a solid 7 out of 10, in my opinion. So I want to talk about the presentation. I think this game does something that's very, very cool. It intertwines game graphics with real cutscenes. So there's going to be times where you're playing and it's the in-game graphics, which again, the graphics in this game are incredible. There's nothing you can say wrong about how this game looks. It's gorgeous. But then they also have cutscenes work with real actors, the real actors who are, playing Alan Wake or playing Saga. Like you see the real actor who's the game is based off of, who the character design is based off of, and I think it was just really cool. Sometimes that can be really cheesy. Like this isn't the first time I've seen this in a game, but sometimes it can be kind of cheesy. But I think that they did it so masterfully in this game. Especially like you'll be playing as Alan, you'll look through a TV, and then it's a real cutscene on a game show. And I just think how they mismatched these together was just done so well. um, I also think that the soundtrack of this game is incredible as well. There's a certain mission, and if you played this game, you know exactly what mission I'm talking about, where you're pretty much playing a live play. And that's all I'm going to say, but it was one of the craziest things I think I've ever experienced in any game. I just sat there afterwards and I had to look up people's reaction on YouTube because like my reaction I was like, what am I playing? Like this is crazy. And I didn't know if I enjoyed it or not. But then afterwards I'm like, okay, that was the sickest thing I've ever done in any game. Like that was nuts. So the presentation in this game is just a whole nother level. I think the cutscenes have great, great designs, great camera work. Again, with the live action cutscenes, I think that they're done very, very well. The one thing I can say about this game is that sometimes the acting is a little shit. Especially from, which surprised me, Alan. Like there was times where Alan's delivery was just so bad for some cutscenes, and I was just kind of taken out of the experience because you're in this very, very tense scene, and then Alan just drops his line with just such terrible delivery, and you're like, oh, okay. Like, what was that? This guy's like an amateur. But overall, I think the story and the cutscenes and the voice acting is very good. But there's just some lines that fell really flat for me. And usually I don't really notice these kind of things, but it was just so jarring compared to the rest of the game that I just couldn't help but notice it. So I think it's a testament to tell you how good everything is usually. But there are going to be a couple slip ups here and there that might be noticeable to you. So after finishing the game, I kind of thought about it. And I don't know if I could return and play this game again. I think that the first time was enough to play this game. And that could be either good or bad for you. I know a lot of people like to have a game where they can replay all the time, they can replay once a year, etc. And I have games like that too, right? But I think that this game is just one of those games that the due to the story and due to the mystery of the story being so crucial to the enjoyment for me, now that I know everything that happens, I feel like it's going to be difficult to go back to like the slower parts of the story because this game does take a little bit to get going. I think you got to take about I think you gotta wait about 5 hours before the story really gets going, and that could be a really big turnoff for a lot of people. Some people just want balls to the walls right away, but this does take its time, and I think it's for a good reason. It definitely helps in the end with the buildup of what the story becomes, because eventually the story is just absolute bonkers, going crazy. Every mission is nuts, and I think that the buildup is what really, really enhances those moments of the game. But that being said, it kind of goes back to some games like, like Spider-Man 2. Like there's so many slow parts of the game that it's just so hard to go back once you've actually experienced the entire game. And with this game, for example, because it's based on a mystery, because the story is so frontal, once you know everything, it's kind of ruins that edge of your seat moment of you pushing forward to see what happens. So I think that if I were to replay Alan Wake 2, it would have to be like 5 years later once I forget a lot of the details. But even still, because the story was so good and so memorable, I don't know if I could forget what kind of happened in it. So you can take that as it is, but I personally think that the game is totally worth playing for its first time. But if you're gonna repeat the playthrough, that's all on you. Me personally, I think I've had enough of the game and I'm ready for the DLC or the third game, which hopefully doesn't take another 13 years to come out because yo, I'm gonna be 43. But do I feel like this game was overhyped? I think that this game has been underhyped because sure, a lot of games journalists are praising the game and saying how good it is, but the one thing is that the game's not selling well, which kind of does suck because this is the problem with gaming is where when games take these risks and do these cool things and they don't sell, then we just lose people. We lose other companies wanting to take risks, and that will in the end make the gaming industry generic, kind of like the movie industry right now. Like the movie industry is really bad. It's all remakes, it's all sequels, and the gaming industry is kind of turning into that slowly, which kind of sucks. And I think that we're to blame because when people try to do these experimental new IPs or these experimental new ideas in games, and it doesn't sell. So why are people going to take these risks? They're just going to release another Call of Duty clone. So I think that this game is actually underhyped, and that's due to the lack of sales for this game. So I hope that word of mouth does spread eventually, and this does become like a cult classic, kind of like the first game did. And but I hope that this definitely is a lot more financially successful, so then we can get a proper third one, and we can get other companies willing to do cool single player ideas like what we got in this game. But I'd say my overall thoughts is very positive about this game. I think that it was a great experience. I definitely have not played something like this in a very long time, and I definitely recommend it. Whether you're gonna get it right now or wait till it drops on price. Definitely, if it's ever on sale and you're looking for a single player game, I definitely 100% recommend this game. It's good on PC, it's good on Xbox, it's good on PS5. So whatever platform you're on, you're getting a good port of this game, which again is very rare for PC. But yeah, guys, I think this was a very, very great game. Would it have made my list from last year? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it would have made the list, but I think that it is another great game that 2023 had, and I definitely 100% recommend you trying it out. I also have to mention that they have an entire 15-minute short film in this game. There's one mission where you're in a cinema, and I'm not going to spoil the mission, but at the end, a movie is playing, and it's a full 15-minute Finland movie that they made with the characters in the game, and it is the most batshit crazy movie, and I watched it all. But it's just so funny that there's an entire live action short movie in this game that you don't even have to watch. You could have just left the cinema, but you can watch the entire thing, and yeah, I just gotta say, like, that is crazy attention to detail. But that's gonna do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. Again, happy 2024. I'm glad that you guys checked out my first video of the year. There's a lot more coming out. I definitely have another video planned before the end of the month. Tekken 8's dropping, so y'all know I'm gonna drop a video on that. So definitely hit that subscribe button. Definitely catch me on Twitch, Instagram, wherever you see the name King Calf. Hit me up there. And until then, guys, it's your boy King Calf. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace out.